So just before we get into the next session and speak to Luke, quick reminder about who Sanctuary graduates are and why we're here. So we can reach any student at all UK universities. Everything we do stems from this. Our ability to have email access to every student studying for any degree at any UK university. This gives us the widest possible reach of early careers talent in the UK. We also have the synthesized HESA data, which tells us the diversity metrics of every course in the UK. When the two are combined, they allow us to access and engage with target groups of students for our clients. Here is how we reach those students. It is a combination of these 4 areas. We have our own database of talent. Unique to us, we have legal relationships with over 50 universities who allow us to access any of their students on campus. We also have department partnerships across a range of universities, and we sponsor and have relationships with over 250 societies, ranging from women in societies to 93% clubs to Afro-Caribbean societies. And we use the right combination of these networks depending on your needs. Again, we cover the whole early careers ecosystem from the top of the funnel to the nuts and bolts of the recruitment process. We have graduate attraction and brand ambassadors for larger businesses who would like help with their attraction. This service can be used to solve any of the following challenges: quality of applications, diversity of applications, and hard to fill roles. We also provide volume screening services as well as end-to-end recruitment. So how we can help? We offer 3 attraction solutions: bespoke email marketing to your target demographic, in-person events, and on-campus brand ambassadors. All 3 of which are designed to help you get the early careers hiring outcomes you're after, or to solve any challenges that you might have. And here is a selection of the employers that we support, ranging across all industries and all sizes. Okay, so brings me pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Luke Cavalli. We're going to talk about Channel 4's award-winning employee resource group, 4Pride, where Luke is co-chair. We'll discuss the impact that 4Pride has had on recruiting and retaining talent, and you should be able to apply some of this learning across your industry and across whatever group you're trying to reach out to. How you doing, Luke? You okay?
Hello, hi. Yeah, I'm okay. Someone just tried to steal the room. So,
Oh no. I
um,
hope you locked the door.
yeah, all locked.
Brilliant. Nice to see you, Luke. Thanks again for coming along today. And yeah, we're just going to have a little bit of a chat, I guess, right? All about your employee resource group and your background, etc. So yeah, I guess, can you start off, Luke, just telling us a bit about yourself and your role?
Of course. Thanks for having me. It's good. Excited to be here. See, I'm Luke. Day job, I won't bore you too much, but I'm a compliance editor in the legal team. So we sort of look after all the acquired content. So Married at First Sight Australia, Below Deck, all the fun reality stuff that we don't make in-house. And then on the side, I'm also co-chair of 4Pride, which is Channel 4's LGBTQ plus employee resource group. Been in TV about 5 years, 6 years. And I think my main passion is more focused in early career development and diversity. I came in through a apprenticeship scheme when I was 18. So yeah, I'm just really a firm believer in getting people into the right place and mentoring and all that sort of stuff.
Brilliant. Thanks, Luke. And I guess, yeah, we when we last spoke, that this hadn't been announced, but obviously Channel 4, we haven't got to talk about this, but heavily in the news at the minute, so very, very current, and yeah, lots of stuff, lots of work for you to do in the background, I'm sure, off the back of what's happened.
Yeah, it's not my team, thank God.
All right, not my not my area, thanks.
Yeah.
Good. All right, good stuff, Luke. Thanks for having us. Thanks for the intro. I guess what will be really interesting for our audience, and this is made up, as I said, of early careers professionals, people that are looking to recruit and retain talent, and particularly in this conference, diverse talent, is tell us a bit about what employee resource groups are, so ERGs, and really what are the purpose of them?
Yeah, so at the basic level, they're just networks for like-minded people with similar characteristics and lived experiences to get together. Sometimes they're more informal. Channel 4's are more formal. So we work closely with the inclusion team, and they're mainly just there to help foster a diverse and inclusive workspace. Remit can range from organising cinema screenings all the way through to policy. So downstairs at the moment, we've got Gokwan's brother in giving a little interview down in the cinema. So yeah, it's sort of there's so much within their remix. I think Channel 4, we've got seven or eight that covers from 4Pride, the collective, which is for ethnically diverse employees, for Mind and for Purple for mental health and disability. And then we've even got down to 4 Earth, which covers sustainability, and then for Parents and Carers, which is for parents and carers, really inventive names.
Yeah, easy to find, I guess, with those names like that.
Yeah, they're quite. I like it when they change it up. We've also got the Sheds, which is for mainly men. But yeah, there's two that aren't the
Okay.
four, which throws it a bit. Um, it's interesting here because obviously we are a publishing house, and say Microsoft, for example, probably wouldn't have the same experience that our ERGs do. So we sometimes will get involved with advising. So editorial will come to us. We don't have any control over what they put out, but it's more of a conversation between Channel 4 the company, Channel 4 the publisher, and then Channel 4 the employer.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, Luke. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I guess off the back of that, what would you say makes an effective employee resource group? And what do you think really members of the groups enjoy about being involved?
Main one is organisation. I There's been a couple of times where I've lost that ability for a couple of weeks and it's just gone down the pan. Especially when you're representing such a large section of of society, especially with 4Pride, we've got gender, sexuality, and then we've got subcategories like race. We don't just look after one section, um, and it's juggling a lot, so we can't always cater to everyone. So especially at the beginning of the year, we have to sit down and really plan our year out. So, are we going to do Trans Day of Remembrance this year? Are we going to do this day this year? And I think all of our ERGs within Channel 4 work to that schedule. So, for women, one year we'll do um, something based more on menopause. The next year, they'll focus on periods. It's sort of that flip flop of ideas. The other one is making sure it's a safe space for everyone, including allies. Just because you're labeled for one group of people doesn't mean people that don't identify under that umbrella can't join. And especially because we deal with such sensitive issues sometimes, we are sort of the first informal gap before they go to HR. So
Mhm.
say if someone's had an incident and they just need a sounding board, then me and my co-chair Lucifer will probably be the first they come to.
Mhm.
Um, so it's just it's like yes, a hat full of many tricks, I suppose. Just trying to make sure you've got everything covered.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, no, it sounds like yeah, bit of everything really.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at then for Pride specifically, Luke.
Hmm.
Obviously, that's that's your baby. That's who you're co-chair of. Just tell us a bit more about for Pride, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So we were the first DRG, I think. If any of my colleagues are on, and that's a lie, don't tell me off. Been around since 2016 times, and it sort of came out of Pride Month, organising the marches, because that is a feat in itself. Because especially when you're doing two, three cities, it's a lot to deal with, especially for someone who's got a full-time job on the side. Our main priority is that Pride season, which is no longer a month, it seems. It's now the entire summer of events and marches. Um, but we do events beyond that. Recently, in the last 4 years or so, we've moved more into policy and making change at a company level. So we just got gender affirming healthcare through on our Bupa which was huge. I don't know how we did that, but it's nice. Even though it's affecting a small sector of the company, it's just steps to making the employer just slightly more appealing to
Mm.
people long term.
Luke,
We've done
tell us bit more about that. If you just gender affirming healthcare and what the
yeah.
impact it's sort of having. Yeah.
So it covers everything to do with transitioning and gender services. So that includes surgery, mental health, appointments. It doesn't cover hormones, but because it's medicine, you just have to pay for that. But it gets you, I think there was a stat, instead of 3 years of waiting to transition, it's now 3 months to get the
Wow.
help you need, which is, yeah, quite a big thing. And at the same time, there was more policies through. I know 4Purple had some bits on disability that we got through. So it's quite a win for everyone at the beginning of the year. Um, we do events and socials. So we had a trans historian come in to celebrate the launch of the healthcare up in our Leeds office, and she gave this really great chat on trans history. And then we did a great panel with parents from across the LGBT spectrum to talk about their parenting experiences. So it's just that many different layers of getting events on. We've also won a few awards recently. So I think we won Diva magazine last year, and we've been nominated for Pink News in the British LGBT Awards.
Amazing.
Um, and then I think on the side, we work quite closely with other organisations through a group called Intermedia. So that is 20 something media organisations. It's all their LGBT ERGs. And so we do events and socials and schemes, mentoring,
Nice.
just to get people more in the industry.
Nice. So a little bit of glam off your hard work in the end
Just
as well.
yeah, get an award sometimes.
Sometimes not. Yeah, mostly not though. Yeah, I'd imagine. Cool. So Luke, really good to get that. I guess why then we know a bit about 4Pride. Why is it so
Hmm.
important that Channel 4 and for the members for the organization?
I think not to get too deep, but the world is this worrying time at the moment, I feel like, especially in the fields of diversity and inclusion. Sometimes it does feel like we're going back a lot of steps just as a society. Um, and I was speaking a lot to my chair colleagues in the other ones, and we're really amping up our message with inclusion for everyone, to show that we do offer support. They can come to us. I know a lot of the more visibly queer employees in 4Pride, it's a support unit at work, um, and it allows them to be their full self if they maybe not it may not be possible to be their full self in their day job.
Mhm.
And even down to an outside perspective, I think one of my favourite moments was we were doing Leeds Prides a couple of months ago, and everyone was cheering Channel 4, and you could really see the impact we were having
Mm.
outside of London.
Yeah.
Because take it for granted when you live in London, but when you get
Mm.
there, if that was like a gay kid in the crowd seeing us do that, they're like, "Oh, I want to work there."
Yeah.
And it just, yeah, it's a nice little perks of the job, that is
Yeah.
seeing other people and how they react with us.
Amazing. Brilliant. Cool. So obviously, yeah, as I touched on, we've got a lot of people that are involved in recruiting and attracting talent here. So what sort of impact can an ERG such as 4Pride have on attracting talent?
I, th- I think a lot of young people are aiming, if you can advertise that sort of community network thing as a company, you will be more attractive by young people. I've noticed, like, even though I am that generation that are now coming in after uni, I've just had a few extra years on top of that. Um, COVID has changed the landscape, and I think young people are more picky with what they want now.
Mhm.
And you could be doing the same thing as 800 different companies, but because you have bespoke groups and that social aspect and that community feeling, they'll probably pick you over someone else. Um, I think it's that representation aspect as well, of like joining a company and not having anybody we use buddy systems with new people that join the ERG, especially younger ones, and it just changes the vibe of what you're offering to them. Because it's a two-way street now, isn't it? Can't give, you can't take, you've got to give something.
Yeah. And have you found over the years that you've celebrated more and more so as it's become more established and really sort of push it out to the people that are joining the business?
Yeah, it's especially recently it started to become sort of when new starters join, they get a full brochure with the ERGs in and the contacts for them, and to be like message them, join their mailing list, and yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Cool. Any questions that you have throughout for the audience, just pop them into the Q&A. I think there's another question I've got about the impact on sort of retaining staff, right? Because obviously you get them in the door, but a lot of the impact I'd imagine an ERG has is keeping people there, right? Because you know, so tell me a bit about the impact it has on, I guess, both developing staff and retaining staff.
Yeah, I don't work in HR or recruitment, so probably I can answer it, but it's not like a perfect, like
Sure, yeah,
a learned answer. But it's that I've noticed people, especially the younger generation that are coming in now, there's not as much like you need to work at this job until you die sort of vibe anymore. I've noticed people my age, they're staying for longer if they're more involved within an ERG. So if they're given responsibility, so we've got regional reps now, so they look after their offices. And that's good development for them. Just because they don't have the title of co-chair, they're still getting something out of it. And especially when we're advising on Pride Month, if they've come to us for advertisements for that, or we've got a diversity in advertising awards coming up in October, and a few people from 4Pride have been given the opportunity to assist with picking out the finalists and give their thoughts. And that's something you wouldn't get if you weren't in a resource group. And it goes even down to events. Say if you wanted to do an event, you can just approach the chairs, and then you'll learn event like panel producing skills. You'll learn how to deal with talent, and it's just them small skills which don't seem like much, but eventually it all adds up, and you're like, oh, I can make an event with my eyes shut, and I didn't just because I signed up to a mailing list.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate from my limited experience, just from the involvement side of things, right? And you can definitely see that, although you can't force everyone to be involved for sure, as you know, right? And not everyone from a particular group is going to join, but you know, if staff are feeling more involved, doing things extra as part of their job, but still developing, you know, inevitably they're going to be happy, and this gives that structure, doesn't it? Without them having to put all the effort in and do it themselves, you're doing that, aren't you? So you're doing the hard work.
They can if they want to, but they don't. They don't have to do anything if they don't want to. It's quite nice. Little someone's tried it again.
What about then? For people in the audience, whether they're at an organisation, large one, small one, a university, what can companies do to help employees set up ERGs, and even on a basic level?
I think letting them develop organically, and don't force it on people. Because say if you approach someone that you think is gay or whatever, and you're like, can you do this for our Pride ERG? And they're like, no. It's that put the offer out there. We want to do this. If you want to create one for you, and if you like your colleagues, come forwards. Resource is a massive one. We can't do half the stuff we do without a budget, and we're so fortunate to have a good budget to be able to do that, including even down to manpower, because it's such a massive job on top of your main job. I'm not getting paid for this, for doing all the 4Pride stuff. And so our inclusion team, they have coordinators so they can give to us for projects, and it just makes such a difference. The big one that Channel 4 does is exec support. So ours is the director of technology for 4Pride, and we sit with her monthly. We discuss any issues, we go through everything. If we need help, she can provide more resources. And then even down to say if there's like a big problem, we've got an ear on the exec boards, and it's their job to represent us. And then the basic, just listen to them and their concerns and be ready to be held accountable. This is a big part of ERGs. If you do something wrong, you probably will be approached about it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. What about Luke? If there's, and again, just sort of thinking about what a lot of the things that we hear, you know, there's no budget basically is going to be a big issue, right? So what about if you haven't got the budget, is there anything that you can do that won't cost money to help? Obviously, you need the time and resource, but what about companies that are a bit sort of low on budget for this sort of thing?
I think work with them and offer them training that you can provide. Say if you're a CEO and you could take your potential ERG chairs under your wing, do a few sessions with them on leadership, just show that you're there if you can't provide a budget. Because yeah, like you said, some companies won't have that facility to drop 10, 15K for a year on 8 different groups. So yeah, I think that just working with them and be honest on both sides about what you both want out of it.
Yeah.
Because if you can't find a budget, you probably won't be able to get all singing, all dancing, pride parades, but you could do a few drinks, organising a social, or getting a speaker or a charity to come in. There's ways around it.
Yeah, and I guess even at the minimum level, it's you've still got that support group and the network, haven't you? Even if you can't do like you said, all singing stuff. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. I guess links to it a little bit, but you know, what advice would you give to employers here who are on their start of their journey with ERGs, or just general advice to all, really?
Yeah, I think, like I said in the last one, it's a two-way street between senior management and the staff. I would only go down that route if you're serious about accountability and diversity. Otherwise, it'll be a failed mission if you're not willing to put that time into it. Say offer as many personal and career development courses that you can, whether that be a sit down with an exec or a LinkedIn learning course. It's the little things that show. And then also reach out to other companies. So I sat down with, I forgot the name, but a company recently, and with their new chairs, and we went through sort of what we do, gave them contacts, and it's that, like, just working with a company to get them set up, they're already established, because it'll save a lot of time and effort of trying to figure out what you're doing. And then finally, I think just have fun with it. It shouldn't be that serious, especially in the early days. It should be more viewed as a community rather than a big change the world exercise. I mean, Amazon's 4Pride is called Glamazon, so I think that sums up the fun part. But that's the main point out of that. I think it's just it's not that serious.
Yeah, love it. Cheers, Luke. I really appreciate it. Some really good insight into ERGs in general, and obviously a really successful one in 4Pride. We've got a couple of questions that I'll come to. So Candice has asked a couple of questions. So how do you initiate or integrate someone into an ERG? I assume identifying someone as from a particular group, there is data collected on a starter form, but how do you invite them to one? And you sort of alluded to this a bit earlier, didn't you, Luke?
Yeah, it's more personal choice with which one you can join. I mean, I'm part of most of them, just because I like seeing the updates and the events. There's no definition of which one you're able to join, which one you're not able to join. Especially now because there's so much intersectionality between all of the groups. So we'll do events with the collective for I think diverse LGBTQ plus employees, and then we'll do for parents and carers. And it shouldn't be prohibitive on how you identify, if that makes sense.
It does. And then would you, if you're trying to promote 4Pride, for example, would you just promote to everyone and then hope that it gets to the right people? Or do you sort of focus on particular individuals and stuff like that?
Send it to our mailing list first, which is all the people that have signed up for Prides.
Okay.
And then it will go out to the company on our internal portal, like our intranet. And then if we are still trying to fill seats, we will approach other chairs of other ERGs to get them to share with their network. And yeah, it's very fluid in that way. We had a big one at the beginning of the year with WUCA, where we introduced a new period policy and we all put money in and supported it. So yeah, we all work together. It's not just closed walls, depending on who you are.
Makes sense, Luke. Yeah. Candice has already said we like to send regular updates and constantly put it in the air that these ERGs exist. But is there a better way? And again, you've probably just touched on this again, Luke, haven't you? But how else do you sort of promote them? And you said that they're in the employee sort of handbook when they start, and yeah, anything else?
Engagement is hard. I'm just gonna say that it's the one thing I have not been able to crack. Someone says they're coming, they're not gonna come. Plan for 50, aim for 10. That's sort of the way that I would organise events. It's just trial and error, I think. And I wish I could answer that more succinctly, but I'm still figuring it out. Yeah, because that line between hammering them with info and then also just only getting the key bits to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I think I know I work with a lot of universities, and yeah, that's the constant issue, isn't it? Getting students, in their case, to turn up to events, employers, candidates to turn up. So I guess put in as many places as you can, and then see what comes from it. Yeah, but having an organisation in place in the first place is probably the best thing. That's all the great. Oh, we got another one coming. Here we go. So Chris has asked, any tips on encouraging the engagement of champions and allies who are part of ERGs? We have many team members who are part of our networks, but rarely get involved in our catch-ups and events.
I know BBC have an ally group, an ally spin-off, a subgroup of their Pride network. That's something we haven't toyed with, but I know my colleague who came from the Beebs said that it is a thing and it's actually quite engaged. I think we like to frame it more as educational when we do panels and stuff, even if it is mainly aimed towards queer members of staff, because if you spin it as educational, more people will turn up because they all think it's more to do with them when compared to sending out like come to this panel event on this ABC, be like, oh, this is about education, and then more people will probably turn up. Sorry, am I missing something else with that question? Yeah, I think free food works. That's a weird one, but people love food. And we hosted a lunchtime thing in one of the meeting rooms here, said free food, and people that had never come to a team meeting before turned up, and now they actively come to more events. So it's a good carrot.
They're not necessarily getting the food every time, but it got them in the door type thing.
Yeah, it got them in the door. They realised that it's a nice community, and then they want to turn up more.
Okay, good. Yeah, good to hear. That's at the moment. That's all we've got for now, Luke. So I think wraps us up early, but finishes at a nice time for lunch. So I just want to say thanks so much. Really enjoyed chatting to you. And yeah, if anyone wants to obviously learn a bit more about ERGs, get in contact with Luke, either drop me a message, and I'm sure Luke won't mind me introducing you, or reach out on LinkedIn and yeah, have a chat, because like he said earlier, it's not about reinventing the wheel here, really. It's about finding out, what people are doing already and trying to use that. So cheers, Luke. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. Speak soon. And just on that, so we will be back at 2:15. And let me just share my screen so you know what's happening. We've got a really good session coming up with Nolene on international talent. So this is a topic that comes up with lots of people that I speak to, employers, universities, very much a current subject. So Nolene's going to be telling you all about why and how you can be hiring international talent. So see you after a lunch break at 2:15 for the final session of the day. Thank you.